Hello and welcome to this video. Now today I'm just doing a tribute video to the late Pepe Kalle Yampanya. You know, that is another fallen son of Africa. So just to take you quickly through his profile is that Pepe Kalle was an artist of Congolese origin. He was born on the 30th of November 1951. But unfortunately, we lost him on the 29th of November 1998. So look at that coincidence, that he was born on the 30th of November and he died on the 29th of November. So there he was born was 1951. And the year that he left us was 1996. So like I said, he was a Congolese singer, majoring in the genre that is called soukous, and he was also a composer, songwriter for that matter, and a vocalist, a very good vocalist, and also a band leader. So he was actually born in Kinshasa, but then it was called Leopoldville. And the country then was called Belgian Congo, although now it is called the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Pepe Kalle was a multi-octave, should say vocal range kind of artist. You know, he could do so many voices. He could actually go a bit low and do bass. He could go very high and do near soprano, really. So he was that kind of a musician, that he could do a very wide vocal range. And what was even more prominent about him was his stage presence. During performances. He was a very dynamic performer. To even imagine that he was 2.1 meters or 210 centimeters, and that he was 6'11", 6 feet and 11 inches. That means that he was actually a giant. And at one point, he actually weighed 150 kilograms. That is the Pepe Kalle talking about. So we're talking about a giant. Really, and so that's why he was passionately referred to as the elephant of the African music. Other people called him La Bombe Atomique, the atomic bomb. So he entertained people with a very, very, very unique, I should say, energetic and robust performances on stage. But now we have to trace his musical career, that he began his musical career under the guidance of Le Grand Kalle. And Le Grand Kalle was the band leader of the African Jazz Band. So you can be sure that his schooling in music happened, at the very highest level. If you can have Le Grand Kalle, Joseph Kabasele teaching you music, then of course you know that you are in the right hands. But then of course, when he left the African jazz of Grand Kalle, he had stints with other bands, including Bella Bella. And then after that, he also sang with the Lipua Lipua, alongside Nibo Mamwandido Danos. So let's just say that in 1972, when he was done with the Lipua Lipua and all those other bands, 1972, Pepe Kalle himself, Dilu Dilumona, and Papi Tex, all of them coming from Lipua Lipua, decided to create their own band, and they called that band Empire Bakuba. Now, Empire Bakuba is a name that was taken from a Congolese warrior tribe. And of course, by virtue of them, of course, talking about a Congolese warrior tribe, it means that they are trying to trace their roots. And so much of their music was actually informed by the sounds, the local ancient, if you will, sounds. So they did a lot of borrowing of local or indigenous rhythms and lyrics in many of their songs. So Mpire Bakuba then, of course, became extremely popular, and it found Zaiko Langalanga who are also trying to appeal to the youthful fanatics, the people who are more or less defying the old order of music. They are trying to defy the old school. Some people call it the second generation, the likes of Tablero Sharo, the likes of Barkis Kemangona Mateta, the likes of Franco Lombo, Ranzo Makedi. So Zaiko Langalanga were coming up with a hippie, extremely modern way and of music, and this really appealed to the youthful generation. And so Pepe Kalle arrived and released blockbusters, if you will, Dadu, for example, and then Sango Yamawa, that was composed by Papi Tex. These are songs that went straight up the musical charts, and they also became a bit energetic with their music. And so the Kwasa Kwasa dance, the Kwasa Kwasa formation, is largely credited to Mpire Bakuba with the things that they were able to do. So on their, in 1982, 10 years later, the band, as you would expect, was voted Zaire's top group. So then the current Democratic Republic of Congo is referred to as Zaire, and therefore the band emerged top. And for a band to emerge top, for a band to challenge the likes, like I told you, stalwarts like Franco Lombo, Ranzo Makedi, Table, Rochero, of course Zaiko Langalanga and Kolomboka, and then of course the fortunes of Barkis Kamangwana were dropping then. He was not very active in music, but for a band to have been declared the best band in the whole of Democratic Republic of Congo shows that they came with something that struck the chord of their fans differently. Now, throughout the 80s, Franco Lombo, Mpire Bakuba of Pepe Kalle continued to perform extensively across Africa, doing so many albums, releasing so many songs. By mid-80s, you would imagine that word about Mpire Bakuba had moved around the whole of Africa. The Francophone nations especially were even more wowed. So Central Africa and West Africa, of course, became instant consumers, really, fans of music done by Mpire Bakuba. But now something happened in 1986, that there was a reunion. I remember that Nibo Mamondido had performed with Pepe Kalle earlier on in Bela Bela and again in Lipua Lipua. But in 1966, there was a reunion of the two, Pepe Kalle Yampanya and Nibo Madanos Mwandido. And the album that they released that year, 1986, was Zuke Zuke. Well, this album with that song became instant hits, and they actually became that album became a top seller. But then the second album 2 years later, in 1988, again Pepe Kalle Yampanya and Nibo Mamondido, the album called Moibi was the album that did it all. It now launched Pepe Kalle to the rest of Africa and to the rest of the world. And that song Moibi, um, was very hippie, was very nice, but it's very interesting. There's a part of the song that says Bakule Bakule oh yeah, that Bakule Bakule part was actually picked from a very old song that was written by Honor Liengo in 1961, of course with the band Rockamambo. So Pepe Kalle picked that line of Bakule Bakuleo, and it became extremely popular, just showing that the foundation really of Empire Bakuba was to do more of excavation, if you will, picking songs that had been done and forgotten many years ago and breathing some new life into them. Now, of course, you'd imagine that as the years moved on, late 80s and early 90s, with the popularity of Pepe Kalle Ampanya, with the popularity of Empire Bakuba, you can only imagine that it was success after success after success after success. Pepe Kalle reached out to other parts of the world. He began doing some fusions, increasing the pace of his music, for instance, and making, actually popularizing the Soukous genre of music, coupled especially with the very good studios that he was using in Paris. You can imagine that Pepe Kalle became, Le Bombe Atomique, the way I indicated. In 1990, Pepe Kalle released the song, the album that whose cover song, whose lead song was Roger Miller. And Roger Miller was a tribute to the legendary Roger Miller, the Cameroonian football player who, of course, excelled very well. Everyone talks about World Cup, about the 1990 World Cup. We'll of course know that Cameroon did very well. They beat Argentina, and that became, a very big thing. So Pepe Kalle was not left behind, and this just shows you that musicians are part of society. They see what happens in society, and they just mirror that in their songs. So therefore, Pepe Kalle went for Roger Miller because of his stellar performance and that of Cameroon in the 1990 World Cup. So in that song, Roger Miller, I'm very happy that the solo guitar was done by Zangili Popolipo 04, and it did very well. Now, Pepe Kalle was, again, like I told you, very creative. That he did not fear to try out new frontiers, new things. That is why he introduced dancers, that are largely classified as pygmies. The two dancers were Jolie Bebe and Dominique Mabwa, also called. So there was Jolie Bebe, Dominique Mabwa, and Ayla Emoro. So this, for lack of a better word, were dwarf dancers. The pygmies from the Democratic Republic of Congo came, and that just made the stage shows really very interesting. If you look at some of the videos, Pepe Kalle does very interesting moves with the Emoro, including Emoro disappearing under his feet and things like those. Unfortunately, in 1992 we lost Emoro, and they were actually on an African tour, specifically in Botswana, and this really hit the band. But despite this, of course, Pepe Kalle's popularity continued to increase. In the 90s, he released album after album after album, including Urgent Afrique and Cocktail, that did very well. Now, it's also worth noting that Pepe Kalle also did collaborations with other musicians. Simaro Lutumba, for example, gave him a song to do, and that song, there's also Bilia Bell that sang. Then he also did collaboration with Nyokalongo of Zaiko Langalanga. So basically that's what Pepe Kalle did. Now on the 28th of November 1998, he suffered a heart attack in his home in Kinshasa. Now he was rushed to the hospital called Clinique Ngaliema, and just a day later, shortly after midnight of 29th of November, it was a Sunday, Pepe Kalle lost the war to cardiac arrest. So the official reason given for his death was that he suffered a cardiac arrest, or commonly called a heart attack. Now, it was during his death that there was more coalescing of people around his artistry, around his music. In fact, the minister for culture and arts then, one Juliana Lumumba, announced that the government would, of course, give him a state burial, state send-off, which of course happened on the 6th of December, the same year, 1998, and in his honor, all artists who had scheduled shows were asked to shelve them in honor of the fallen hero. Now, he was largely praised by very many people for the very many things that he did. His body was moved around popular locations where he had performed and excelled. And then, of course, because he was being given a state burial, his body was taken to Palais du Peuple, and it is indicated in some literature that up to 1 million people paid him, the last respect, the final respect, just showing what kind of an artist Pepe Kalle was. So he was buried at Gombe Cemetery in a state funeral that was largely attended. Very many people attended his burial, just showing the son of the soil that he was. So many people have described him as a patriot. He stayed home. He did a lot of songs that talking about the Congolese people and their problems, etc. And that's why this show is all about him. And people have beef. People do mwakela, where musicians sing about others in terms of deriding songs and so on. Pepe Kalle did not have any issues with anybody. He was, a go-to person if you needed somebody to do peace and so on. So it is therefore just that you have to really appreciate what kind of an artist he did. Important is just talk about Empire Bakuba, that it was formed in 1972, and the name came from the Empire Bakuba du Grand Kalle, and people, and by the way, even the name Pepe Kalle, the Kalle name actually picked it from Grand Kalle, because that Grand Kalle, Jeff Grand Kalle was his idol, so he picked the name from him. So the band had so many other artists, Juna Mumbafu, there was of course Boeing 737, Kinanga Nanzao, there was Doris Ebuya Lange, there was Dokolos, there was Jolie Bebe, Emoro Tumba Aila, and among others. So the main tribute really goes to Pepe Kalle Ampanya, that he did a wonderful work, and therefore when the final book talking about the African music, especially the Congolese music, is written, he deserves a few chapters. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to subscribe, remember to share, and remember to leave a comment so that I know how this video and this type of content takes you, how you receive it. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to doing more videos. Thank you very much.